Hi, and welcome to 3 Things in 3 Minutes. I'm Nersi. Today we are previewing Factions Battlegrounds. It plays 2 to 4 players and plays in 30 to 45 minutes. Now please note that this is a preview of a game in development and the components that you're seeing are prototypes. What it's about. Factions Battlegrounds is a fantasy tactical combat game in which players play as one of 8 factions commanding units across a map to gain control of resources and eliminate their opponent's units. At the beginning of each game, players will place resource centers and their factions' terrain tiles on a 3x3 grid to create a battle map. Now each round, all the players' units will activate in initiative order with an opportunity to recruit new units and then move to secure resources and then attack, using either basic attacks or expending mana to perform more powerful attacks. Now players can then recruit units again and then generate gold and mana and a new round begins. Now players score points for defeating units based on the unit's cost, and the first player to 25 points wins. What I like, Factions Battlegrounds is very much about asymmetry. Now each of the factions has a unique set of 12 units called the Warband that differs substantially from one another in abilities and even in their great unique artwork, so you'll be employing different tactics with each. The game also benefits from having a player-created map, which separates it from other purely card-driven combat games. Now while there are 3 categories of terrain, your home terrain, enemies terrain, and water, you will be creating a dynamic new map every time you play, which requires you to mix up your strategy. And the combat is mostly deterministic, so while a handful of abilities will make combat rely on the roll of a die, a majority of the time your damage is fixed, making the game much more about thoughtful tactics and turn order than whether or not you get lucky on your rolls. Now, points to consider. The game does not have any card drawing, so all of your options from terrain to the units that you recruit are available to you at the beginning of the game, which leaves you with quite a bit of choices. Now, while the rules on the faction boards do give you some helpful suggestions, the learning curve does take some time before you really know how to make the most of your choices. The game also has a fairly different feel at different player counts. Now, 2-player games involve a lot more back and forth in controlling the battlefield, while 4-player games are more of an all-out brawl, so think about the player count depending on your preferred style. And the game, while it does have some relatively simple rules, can be hard on you if you make mistakes. Now this is especially true if you fail to secure enough gold, and it's hard to recover when your opponent's wealth lets them crank out unit after unit, so recognize that this can be a challenge, especially if players are at different skill levels. So in summary, it's an asymmetric tactical map-based fantasy combat game, but all the faction and unit choices can feel like a lot at first. It has a lot of variability owing to the different factions and a changing map, but it does change a lot based on the player count, and the combat is mostly straightforward and deterministic, but know that it can be hard to catch up if you fall behind. Thanks so much for watching. Please make sure you like and share this video and subscribe to the channel.